Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cut the Chase Sports Podcast, where we're bringing unique insight and analysis about your favorite sports from the collegiate and professional levels. I'm your host, Chase Yance, joined by the panel right here. We got Matt right next to me. Matt, how you doing?
What's up, man? I'm ready to talk some football. Here we go. We're on.
Yes, sir. As we always do on the Cut the Chase Sports Podcast. A lot of football here. And then we got Brady down in the bottom. Looks like y'all swap spots. How you doing, Brady?
Doing good. Hope you guys are both having a fine day on this fine, I believe it is a Wednesday. And I'm ready to also talk some wide receivers today. For sure.
Yeah. Yep. Did our quarterback list a few weeks back. But, man, we're ready to talk some football, to talk some wide receivers, very deep in both college and the NFL. But man, we're 36 days away from the NFL starting. I believe we're about 3 weeks or so from week 0 college football. So, we ain't wasting no time. Let's hop right in it to Matt's list of the top 10 receivers in college football. We're going to get up here. Here we go.
Yeah. So, basically, when I compiled this list this afternoon, evening, basically I'm making it off of what they've already accomplished combined with what I think what I think they're going to accomplish this year with the teams that they have around them, what they're coming back with, quarterback-wise, things of that nature. So it's not just based off of pure stats, but it's also not just based off of pure potential. It's kind of a combination of both. So number one, I think it's clear-cut number one, Jackson Smith-Njigba coming back. Led the country in receiving yards. I mean, he put on a show in the Rose Bowl. With him and C.J. Stroud, I think they have a chance to go down as one of the best wide receiver quarterback duos in the history of the sport. So Jackson Smith-Njigba's got to be number one, in my opinion. Number two, Jordan Addison. He transferred from Pitt last season, so he transferred to USC along with Caleb Williams, who's a quarterback from Oklahoma last year. As a true freshman, he transferred to USC as well. Jordan Addison led the country last year in receiving touchdowns. I think he's going to have a big year as well. The talent that USC has really compiled around them with Lincoln Riley now, and then obviously Caleb Williams transferring there at quarterback, I think they're going to have a really explosive offense this year. So I look for Jordan Addison to really jump continue to jump on his role and continue to be better and have a great year. At number three, I have Marvin Mims from Oklahoma. They have a quarterback named Dylan Gabriel who's coming in to replace Caleb Williams. He's a very talented guy as well. Marvin Mims is an explosive athlete, really good after the catch, great route runner. So I look for him to have a big year as well. Kayshon Boutte, or Booty, however you pronounce it. I think it's Boutte, so I'm going to go with it like that. From LSU, the big thing for LSU right now is he's a very talented receiver. The problem is quarterback-wise, right? Me and Brady were talking before. They have Jaden Daniels, who just transferred in from Arizona State there, and then they have their quarterback from last year, Miles Brennan. I think it's going to end up being Jaden Daniels that wins that job. If Jaden Daniels wins that job, I think Kayshon has a huge year, right? If not, I think you might see him fall out of this list. If we make this list at the end of the season, Miles Brennan might fall out of the top 10 because I'm not sure Miles Brennan is that dude. I think Brady might agree with me there as well.
I do agree with you there for sure.
Yeah, but we were talking about it before the show started. I think Jaden Daniels is going to win the job, but we'll see. So I have him number 4.
Yeah.
Josh Downs, big time receiver. They did lose Sam Howell, who was UNC's quarterback last year, but Josh Downs is a very explosive athlete as well. Had a big year last year. I look for him to have another good year. I think they're having kind of a QB controversy right now, or competition rather, at UNC with I think it's Luke May's brother's older brother's Drake May. Is that correct, Brady?
Yeah. His younger brother, Drake.
So yeah, I think he's the favorite right now. I'm not 100% sure who's going to win the job, but he was a Alabama commit for a while until he flipped to UNC. So he will have a talented quarterback thrown to him no matter what.
For sure.
Number 6, Xavier Worthy from Texas. Xavier Worthy is extremely athletic and talented. No matter what, I think we're going to have Quinn Ewers throwing the ball. I think that's who's going to end up winning the job. They also have Bijan Robinson, a running back, who's going to open up a lot of things in the passing game in terms of, keeping guys in the box and having to defend the run. So I'd like for Xavier Worthy to have a big year as well. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. on here, the Ohio State receiver as well. I think he's going to have a much bigger year just because so much attention is going to be on Jackson Smith-Njigba and other receivers and running backs that we have. So I look for Marvin Harrison Jr. to have a huge year and really break out, put himself on the scene, not only to be drafted high in the NFL, but for maybe to take on the number one role here in the next couple of years as the number one receiver at Ohio State. We talked to Chris Drew, Zach Smith's co-host on Sunday. We had that episode with him, and he said that he was the best receiver on our roster. So from everything he heard from inside with guys talking about the Woody and everything, everybody thinks that Marvin Harrison's the best receiver in the building. So I guess we'll see on Saturdays, but right now I have him number 7. Jermaine Burton from Alabama. He transferred from Georgia last year. He just came to Alabama. The reason I have him on this list, I think a lot of people, he's a talented guy, no doubt, but Alabama's got to throw the ball to somebody, right? So, and they've always end up having a great receiver on their team, at least one, right? Jameson last year. I mean, just going back 3 of the years, I'm not going to continue to talk about it and name all the names, but everybody knows the guys that are in the NFL now. So I think Bryce Young has got to throw the ball to somebody. I'm putting Jermaine Burton on here because, like I said at the beginning, if I'm making a list, I'm going to go based off of potential of what I think they could do this year. That's basically where I'm coming at with the Jermaine Burton deal. I think he's going to be targeted a lot. I think he's going to have a big year. Number 9, Jaden Reed. He's from Michigan State. Had a great year last year. They have their quarterback, Peyton Thorne, coming back again for another season. He's one of the best receivers in the Big Ten. I believe he was first-team all-conference last year. He's not one of the top 5. He's probably not one of the top 5 receivers last year in the Big Ten. I think coming back this year, he really has a chance to be that, maybe even second if he gets enough targets, because Marvin obviously is not going to have as many targets because he's got Jackson Smith-Njigba on his team. So I look for him and Peyton Thorne to have a pretty good year for Michigan State. They had a really good season last year with 10 wins with Mel Tucker. I look for that offense to continue to grow and be explosive. Rakeem Jared, a very underrated guy here for me. With Tua's brother at the quarterback at Maryland, he was a commit to LSU for a while, flipped. He was a 5-star receiver. Maryland has a hell of a receiver group, so he's going to be targeted a lot. I like Rakeem Jarrett to have a deep. The reason I'm putting him on here is I think he's going to get drafted higher than what he performs in college, if that makes sense. So yeah. I think when he comes out, he's going to be one of those names that when they come out in the NFL, when all the NFL mock drafts come out next year, he's going to be in them because all the scouts are going to know who he is. But a lot of the fans at home aren't going to really have watched Rakeem Jarrett much because he hasn't put up a bunch of numbers and because he played at Maryland. Did that make sense? If he was on a big school, if he was at Ohio State or LSU or USC or something like that, I think he would be a much higher profile guy. But he decided to go to Maryland. That's where he's at with Tua's brother at quarterback. And Tua's brother's not a terrible quarterback either. He can get him the ball, get him in space, things like that. But that's kind of where that's kind of my top 10 right there. I think 2 guys to watch for that I didn't put on this list. Emeka Egbuka at Ohio State. He's kind of the number 3 guy. He's very, very fast, explosive, 4.3 speed. When we did our Ohio State episode earlier in the year, I'm looking for him to take the top off the defense. So he might be the guy that makes the big plays for us.
Oh
year.
Yeah.
So that's a guy that I think can creep up into this list. And also Ronnie Bell from Michigan, team up north. I know. But he's very athletic. He got hurt last year, tore his leg up at the beginning of the season. I look for Ronnie Bell to have a really good year as well. So those are 2 guys that I would say just missed the list.
Okay.
Brady, take it away.
Yep.
All right. So, are my thoughts or my list?
You got your list right here. We can go right to the.
We'll go right to my list because I don't want to say my thoughts yet until I get in the list.
Oh yeah, we got to break it down, man. Here we go.
All right. So here's my list. At number 1, I have Jackson Smith-Njigba as well. Pretty clear cut number 1. I know with all that, some people think Marvin's the best receiver on the team, but he's not. He might be the most athletic and freakiest. I know, and obviously, as Matt said, we we had Chris Drew on here, and he even said that like even some of the coaches think he's their guy. Like he's freaky. He's the best receiver in the room. But there's things that you're not going to see that Jackson Smith and Jigba will do in a game that you're not going to see doing drills in practice, in my opinion. And I just think he's going to lead the nation in yards again, is my guess. And you look for that number to be around 1,500 plus. And then I think he's obviously going to explode and be the first receiver, the best in the nation, potential Blitnikoff, and definitely the first receiver picked. Number 2, I actually have Xavier Worthy. I'm very high on Xavier Worthy. He was the best freshman receiver in the nation last year. Again, like Matt said, extremely explosive, will make big plays. He took first play of the Oklahoma-Texas game, Red River rivalry last year. He took it 75 to the house on a screen pass. He's just super explosive. He used to be a Michigan commit. Thankfully, he decommitted. He actually got out of his letter of intent because Josh Gaddis did some unspeakable things with his mother. But we'll move on to number 3.
I need to know. I need to know.
We might need to know what this is.
I need to know what he did with his mother. Somebody tell me,
if you're able to paraphrase or kind of just like
hey, no, don't even paraphrase. Give me some explicit details. How about that?
Oh, you want all of it here.
I don't necessarily have all the details, but let's just say Xavier Worthy's mother cheated on his father with.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I was hoping for a little bit more dirty than that, but that's all right. Here we go.
I'm not entirely sure what all went down.
Zach Wilson shit right there. Jeez.
Yeah. It's even worse, honestly.
At that point, yeah.
But that's actually why he got out of his letter of intent. Probably made the right choice. The Michigan does not throw the ball as well as Texas. But number 3, I have Kayshon Boutte. I believe that Kayshon Boutte is the best receiver in the SEC this year. He's like an A.J. Brown would be my comparison of him. Very explosive after the catch, bigger dude, bigger frame. He's had some really good games in his career. I just think he's a great player. And with Jaden Daniels / Miles Brennan, I think he'll be fine either way. I expect it to be Jaden Daniels though. I expect him to have a huge year. Definitely first team SEC and a first round pick. Number 4, I actually think Josh Downs is the best receiver in the ACC, even if Jordan Addison would have stayed. So I think Josh Downs is ever since he played in the All-American game, I think it might have been the Army All-American game, I saw something. So I was watching that game when he was going to be – and he was a highly rated recruit, but not one of the top 5 or 10 receivers in the country. He was probably just outside. He scored like 3 touchdowns that game. Very good deep ball runner, and just very good after the catch. Very explosive, great hands. He's really a do-it-all type of receiver at only 5'11". Really love Josh Downs. Then at number 5, I have Jordan Addison. I just think that Josh Downs, those two are flippable for me. I just think the top 3 are more talented than either. I think Jordan Addison, he's a really good receiver, but do I think he is necessarily the best receiver in the country, like his Blitnikoff award might say? No, I don't. I could even see talent-wise him being below some of these guys below him. But he has the production to prove it. One has the Blitnikoff award, had 1,500 yards, 17 TDs, I believe it was last year. And I just think he's still a great player. Should have a huge year with USC. Number 6 is Marvin Mims for me. Like Matt said, another explosive player who's just – I think he's really talented. His hands – what sticks out to me. He had a catch against Texas Red River rivalry that Caleb Williams threw. They had to contort his body and make a catch up top, and he just snagged that thing and never lost control. I just think Marvin Mims is even more talented than probably Josh Downs or Jordan Addison. He just needs to put that production out on the field this year. And I think Dylan Gabriel will help do that. Number 7 is definitely my hottest take on this list. I'm super high on this guy. I expect him to be an actual late first-round pick in this next draft. Okay. It's Devonta Washington from Penn State. And I know they just lost Jahan Dotson. And honestly, I'm one to think that they had a 1A, 1B last year on their team as receivers. They both were very explosive. I think Parker Washington is the best pure slot receiver in the nation. He works that slot perfect. He's kind of like a Cooper Kupp in the way where he knows exactly where to run his routes, and he runs them very technical from the slot. And he's really good after the catch. He's very dangerous to turn 5-yard catches into 20-yard gains, and it's just really annoying playing him. and I just expect him to explode as Penn State's wide receiver 1 this year. Number 8 is my potential. My guy that has the most potential on this list is Marvin Harrison Jr. Talent-wise, he is right up at the top, somewhere around the top 5 range. But he just hasn't done it quite yet on the field, except the one start he has, he had 3 touchdowns against one of the best teams in the country in the road.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive when you have to fill in for Garrett Wilson / Chris Olave and do the same things they did. Mm-hmm. Just the things you hear about him from the Woody, the freaky athleticism, how tall he is, big body receiver. He's just an absolute freak. Marvin Harrison Jr. should have a huge year this year as the wide receiver 2 on the team. Number 9 for me is Jaden Reed, like Matt said, biggest playmaker on the Michigan State roster at receiver last year. Obviously, they had Kenneth Walker running back. I think he was second team Big Ten. I think last year, but still, I think he was second team. But still, like this year, expect him to make a good run at first team, especially with Peyton Thorne, his high school teammate, actually at quarterback. They should have a huge year. I'm definitely expecting 1,000 from him. And then at number 10, I don't believe you saw him on Matt's list, is Quentin Johnston, the 6'4", 6'5" receiver from PCU. Probably the best jump ball, just throw it up and get it receiver in the country. Red zone target wise, him and Marvin Harrison Jr. might be the best out of all these guys. I just think he is a walking red zone touchdown. You just throw it up in the back. I think he had 3 touchdowns maybe against Oklahoma, and he was like just standing over top of those little DBs. He's a tough matchup nightmare, and that's why I have him. And then for I'll do 2 guys as well, like Matt. I'm actually keeping Emeka Egbuka as an honorable mention due to the fact that he's an absolute beast in terms of talent. Number 1 receiver in 2021. I actually expect him to have more catches than Marvin Harrison Jr. this year because I think he's more of a – Marvin Harrison Jr. will have more touchdowns, though. But I think Emeka is going to be really good for this team. Great kick returner as well. And then my second honorable mention is Cedric Tillman from Tennessee. I think he's going to have a big year with Hendon Hooker throwing him the ball downfield. They really connected on quite a few deep balls last year. I just think the production is going to be there. So
I like that.
That. And then Jermaine Burton. I can't not mention Alabama's wide receiver 1, at least not. So I'll mention him. I agree. He should. I just don't know which one of their receivers will explode, so I try to stay away. But Jermaine Burton, honorable mention for me as well.
Yeah. You know, with a couple of, like they're talking about Alabama and stuff like that. You got the Heisman Trophy winner coming back. You don't with Alabama in the past, it's normally 2 guys, but then it's like, okay, it's either you pick one or the other, and the other guy just shows out and all that. So Alabama's a tough one to pick on who's going to really be that breakout guy, because you think about people, Jalen Waddle. I mean, we're talking about draft perspective, but Jalen Waddle was drafted over Devonta Smith, but Devonta Smith won the Heisman. Some guys get injured, but then some guys just explode. Who knows what happens when it comes to Alabama? But a couple guys, I'm just going to read off some of these guys' stats that you guys mentioned and all that. So Jordan Addison, like I said, 100 catches, 1,593 yards and 17 touchdowns last year, going over to USC and play with Caleb Williams and the Lincoln Riley offense is going to be pretty fun to watch out west. Rakeem Jared, I believe, was on Matt's list. He had 62 catches for 829 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like I said, this guy's probably going to end up being a one of those guys that Matt said, getting ready for the pros. They're not going to, not many people are going to really see him on Saturdays and all that or get that much attention. But you'll see his name higher up on draft boards and all. So that very well could be the case. And then you got Marvin Mims from Oklahoma, 32 catches for 705 yards and 5 touchdowns. The eye-popping stat out of this, obviously he has great hands, but 22 yards per catch. I mean, in any sense of football, that's 2 first downs. It's almost a quarter of the field. I mean, we got to keep note on that. 22 yards a catch last year. We'll see what happens this year with new quarterback in town. Quentin Johnston, 33 catches for 612 yards and 6 touchdowns, 18.5 yards per catch last year. So see if he's able to duplicate a season like that or even better. Jaden Reed, the really explosive guy from Michigan State, 59 catches for 1,026 yards and 10 touchdown catches off of 17.4 yards per catch. So looking for Jaden Reed to have another big season, 6 foot, 185-pound senior from Naperville, Illinois. And then the last one that we had up here, Parker Washington. I believe I think I might have mentioned Parker Washington on one of those, I think it was the Big Ten preview episode. I think I briefly mentioned him. 5'10".
I remember you mentioned him.
Yeah, 5'10", 215 pounds, slot receiver. So, it's a shorter guy, but he's obviously built to play in the slot, take some big hits, 64 catches, 820 yards, 4 touchdowns, 12.8 yards a catch. Like I said, Jahan Dotson was there last year, so it was kind of a, split. Jahan Dotson was the main guy in that receiver room, but this could really be a big year for Parker Washington. You guys got any thoughts on each other's list that you guys might want to share back and forth for the panel?
Yeah, I thought Matt's list was good. It was really similar to mine, so we agree on pretty much everything. I really like the pick of Rakeem Jarrett breaking out. But I do want to say the reason I didn't put a Maryland receiver is because I don't know who will be their wide receiver one, kind of like Alabama. Whereas I think they're both great passing offenses, so you could. I really like the pick of both of those guys because I think those are the two most talented receivers on each team. So I like his list.
Okay. Matt, you got any thoughts on Brady's
Yeah, I
list?
like it too. Like you said, Maryland's receiving core is really deep. So I'm just going with Jarrett because I think he's going to end up with I think he's going to end up having the best pro career out of them.
He's the most talented for sure.
Right. Because Dante Demas is really good. It's just like I don't know. I just got to feel Rakeem's going to be better. Whatever. So that's why I put him there. For your list, I think it's really good too. I think Penn State always seems to have that one guy at receiver every couple of years that ends up being the fucking beast in the league. You know what I mean? They got Dawson recently. KJ Hamler a couple years prior to that. Gesicki was a tight end. I know he's a tight end, but still just a target to throw to in general.
Yeah, Freiermuth.
Right, Freiermuth. So guys like that. So I'm with Parker Washington. I'm excited to watch him because we're going to watch a ton of Big Ten East games. So
no doubt.
I think it's a hot take. I think I would have probably moved him lower. I think it's good to have him on the list, but I think I might have moved him just lower because I think Marvin and Jaden are more of a sure thing. You know what I'm saying?
They definitely are. I agree with that. The only reason I had him at 7 is because I actually think he'll go first round, and so I was thinking
right.
Usually,
it's like how I did it. It's based off of potential too. Like it's not just what the production is. You kind of got to have a mixed bag of it. You know what I mean? When you're making lists like this, it's kind of like how people always make their top 10 NBA players ever. You got to mix stats and then their accomplishments too. You know what I mean? It can't just be how many rings somebody has. Like somebody's going to have less rings but more accomplishments. Like it's got to be a combination of both.
Yeah, because Bill Russell was not the greatest player ever. Rest in peace. But
but he's got a lot of rings. So
so that's why he's up there.
Right. That's why you got to have balance. So I'm with you. I think it's a good list. But like I said, I'd probably move him a little bit lower.
Yeah, even a guy like Steve Kerr has who knows how many rings he has, but he's nowhere near.
Right, but he's not considered
nowhere near. So it just kind of depends on all that stuff. But looking through these lists and all, you guys got a lot of similarities on here. I noticed that Brady had Quentin Johnson at 10. Do you have any thoughts on Quentin Johnson, Matt? Have you watched anything of?
I haven't watched a ton of them. They still have Matthew. They still have Matthew Baldwin down there.
No, he medically retired from football.
Did he really? Wow. I didn't even know because he transferred from Ohio State a couple years ago. I've never heard anything about. What did he have? Like a brain issue or something?
It was either brain or heart. It was something really bad, serious for sure.
No, but Quentin Johnson, that's a name I haven't heard a ton about. I have heard his name, but just in terms of watch film, I couldn't come up here and give you a proper. I don't want to make up something and it just be not true. To be honest, I haven't watched enough of them to even give you anything. Every other name on this list I know, but the Quentin Johnson, I know his name. I just couldn't give you a proper analysis on him. So I guess we'll see.
He was definitely.
There you go, Brady. You learn something new every day. Throwing something at me. I got to watch him now, huh?
You do have to watch him. He's gonna have some highlights where you're just the ball will be up in the air and you're gonna have no idea how it'll be perfect coverage. But he's like I'm gonna look up his height real quick. It's ridiculous. He looks huge.
I actually got it right here. If you wouldn't mind, 6'4", 212. Actually,
wow, he's a big, long, winky guy.
Yes, he is
huge. Like he had what 12 touchdowns last year. I think you said
he had 6 touchdowns, but he averaged 18.5 yards a catch. I will say.
Oh, okay. But
man, yeah.
Anyways, in terms of just like the potential and the red zone target he is. Yep. I think he's going to be an absolute beast this year, and I think he's also drawing a good bit of NFL hype.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when you got a guy that big, 100%, they're going to draw it.
For sure. I mean, guys are looking for jump ball receivers in the National Football League, especially red zone targets and all. I mean, that's obviously that's where the place where you got to deliver. So, big look for Quentin Johnson, coming into next year and all that. Before we move on to the NFL, I do want to ask, all right, we've talked about Jackson Smith and Jigba on a couple of different episodes about, stat lines of, 100-plus catches, 1,500 yards. What's Marvin Harrison Jr. got to do as a number 2? What are, like, some numbers or some expectations that you could see him reaching, or even some hot takes that you guys have on what he would do? Because, hey, we talk about Ohio State on this show. It's pretty evident, all right? So, any thoughts on that?
In terms of numbers, I don't know if I could throw numbers at you of how many he's going to get. I think that really varies on how many of the other receivers blossom this year, I guess is a good word, however many of them pop. But I think what we're going to leave this year, everybody's going to leave this year saying he is a surefire first-round pick when he comes out. Whenever he comes out, he's going to be a first-round pick. I think you could solidify that by the end of the year. We'll see enough of him. He might not lead the team in catches. He might not lead the team in yards, in all that. But he's going to be. I mean, the highlight videos that we've seen from him, man, unreal. I mean, he just looks like he fucking put on 10, 15 pounds. I mean, he hasn't put on 10, 15 pounds of muscle, but like he just looks like it. He looks like a freak of nature. Yeah. And like I said, the guys that Chris Drew talked to inside the Woody, like he's got all the connections we have. He says that they all say he's the best receiver in the building anyways. So we'll see. But I think I'm not going to throw numbers at you. I just think my take is we'll leave this season knowing he's going to be a first-round pick no matter what. That's the take I'll give you on him.
All right. Good stuff to build off of.
I think that in terms of numbers, I don't want anybody to expect this guy to put up over 1,000 yards for sure this year, because I think that Emeka Egbuka will put up a lot of yards too.
Yeah,
so I think we'll be leaving this season hopefully saying we got 2 first-round picks on the squad, and then like if Marvin Harrison can put up 1,000, that's great. But if he only puts up 800 around that amount of yards, and so does Emeka, that's perfect too. And then Julian around 600. If they can those next 3 can just put up a lot of production to where you can tell they're elite receivers, that's perfect for me. And Marvin is a wide receiver too. I'm going to say he needs 10 touchdown catches this year, which I think is very doable considering his one start he had 3. And if he averages 3 a game, that'd be like 45 if we play 15 games. So
that's a lot of touchdown catches.
It's a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah. It's a lot for a career in general. You know what I'm saying?
Just say expect about double-digit touchdowns.
I mean, we saw him blow up in the Rose Bowl, man. We had
right.
2 receivers literally just take a shit on a secondary in the Rose Bowl.
Oh yeah, and the one
we have a whole 6 months of all season, or more than that, 8 months of all season.
Mm-hmm.
So just freaking grinding it better. We see all the highlight videos. We see all the tapes he's posted. We hear all the scoops from the guys that have connections from inside the locker room and inside Ohio State.
Yeah,
I'm excited for him. I think he's going to have a big year.
I agree, and just like you said, the Rose Bowl. He was actually going up against Clark Phillips, who is widely known
100%.
as the second best corner in the country, maybe this year, maybe even first according to some. Ex-Ohio State commit. Jeff Hafford left. Sadly lost him. We could use him and all, but I agree. But Marvin Harrison Jr. made that dude look silly in the Reds. Like he could not stop him, man. And to know that Marvin's doing that as a freshman to a top 5 corner in the country from last year is just ridiculous. And he's a freak. He's a freak.
I mean, I will say this, though. I mean, if January 1st of 2022, that's your first look of the 2022 Ohio State Buckeyes, that's going to be a sight to stare at for a long time. Long time.
Especially
now,
offensively.
For sure. For sure. Offensively, it's going to be just a high-powered juggernaut right there. But we're going to push into the National Football League right now. A lot of good college talk right there. We got more coming for you and all. But National Football League. Brady, I'm going to let you read your list first over here on the left. I got a couple of pictures up on here, but take it away.
All right, I'll go ahead first. I have Devonta Adams. I just think he's been doing it for the past 3 to 5 years. He's been consistently the best receiver in the NFL overall, in my opinion. I think his route running is unbelievable. I think he's the best overall route runner in the league. In terms of the entire route tree. I just think his production has proved over the years that he's rightfully so the number one receiver. 2, Cooper Kupp. Last year was unbelievable. Route running was great. Hands were amazing. Great. Led his team to a Super Bowl even. Him and Matt Stafford had a great connection. I expect him to be great this year too. And if he outproduces – Chase definitely did not like that game. But if he outproduces Devontae again, then he obviously has an argument. He has an argument right now for number one. But great player, Justin Jefferson, unbelievably explosive young talent. Great route runner. His hands are honestly underrated. People talk about his route running more than his hands, I feel like. And I think his best quality is when the ball's in the air. He's got really long arms, and he's coming down with it even on a corner route or deep out route. Put the ball high and outside, he's going to get it. So, really think Justin Jefferson's a really great receiver with great potential. Jamar Chase, rookie from this past season, was obviously a star at LSU, so we knew he was going to be good. But probably he even exceeded expectations this year since he was getting so much talk about not being able to catch or whatever in camp. But he proved that was not true and had a huge season. Amazing deep threat, really good after the catch. Really similar. I honestly think he's a better A.J. Brown. They have similar play styles in terms of after the catch. But I think he's better because I think he's faster, and I just think he's overall has a deeper game. Tyreek Hill, fastest player in the league at 5. What else can you say other than the fact that he is ridiculously explosive and the fact that he's going to make a big play. And if Tua can get it there, he's going to score a lot on some deep passes this year. 6 is Stefan Diggs. His route running is clearly his best attribute down there in the slot. He can really cook some people. Really liked Stefan. Don't think last year was his greatest season, to be honest with you. It was he was good, but with Josh Allen, you expect him to maybe be a little better than he was last year. And some people even thought he was top 3 of the year before, but then he took a step back, but still a great player. Really love Stefan Diggs' game overall. Mike Evans is my 7. I think his red zone ability is really, really good, actually. Big target, and the fact that he has Tom Brady helps a lot. He's just a great player. Really, really big fan of Mike Evans. Been great for his whole career. Debo is my 8. I just think he's so good after the catch and such a good hybrid player. He just really, really is a big play threat in both phases of the game. And then number 9 is DeAndre Hopkins. His hands are the best of the best. He's been really good for a long time. I would have put him higher back in the day, a couple years ago. Still in my top 10, but I just think he's maybe lost a bit of a step in terms of he doesn't look as explosive and he doesn't make as many big plays as he used to with worse quarterbacks. But but he could obviously jump back up into that top 5 this year. But right now I have him at 9. He could even drop out of the top 10. I don't know what to expect from him this year.
No telling. And
then my number 10 is Terry McLaurin. With the pitiful quarterbacks he's had has caused him to create one of the best highlight reels of all time. He has top tier hands in the league, just like DeAndre Hopkins. A really good route runner and just a great leader of his team. All the stories you hear like Zach Smith, who we had on. He's just one of the best humans in the world. Terry McLaurin, great football player, great human. I have him as my number 10, but he's definitely on this list for me. But really love Terry McLaurin, obviously. And then should I give honorable mentions as well?
Yeah, give one or two if you want.
So AJ Brown, AJ Brown, and Keenan Allen, obvious honorable mentions. They're close to making my list. And then Michael Thomas, if he comes back and he's playing like his old self, he's obviously on this list. Don't know what to expect from him, so I just excluded him from the list because I have no idea what to expect from him. So yeah. I'm not gonna mention that because you just don't know. So
I mean, yeah, that's one of the guys where you talk about trends and all that. He was hurt in 2020 and then didn't play a single snap in 2021. But then you go all the way back to 19, 18, 17. He was just Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable for Drew Brees and all. It's a different offense they have now with a different quarterback, different receiving core. So a lot's changed in New Orleans, but that's why we kind of keep Mike Evans off the list, and we'll see if he can get right back into that top 5 mix, because we all know, everyone knows with the brain that Michael Thomas was a top 5 receiver in the National Football League before he got injured. I do want to say, before I hop onto my list, can we just take a look at this? 26 receivers went for 1,000+ yards last year in the National Football League. Talk about innovation turning into a passing game. I know an extra game does help, but 26 receivers went over 1,000. I was damn near going to give a round of applause for that one. What the hell?
I honestly didn't even know. I knew there was a lot because I remember some Clemson account was bragging that they had 3 over 1,000. I'm like, congrats.
Like, you look at this, you got Hollywood Brown was the 26th, and then you got Hollywood Brown, Brandon Cooks on it, T. Higgins was even on it, Chris Godwin, CD Lamb, a bunch of guys that weren't on my list and all that. And maybe those might be some honorable mentions, but man, 26 of them. But I will get in my list. It's very similar to Brady's. I will say that's like the top 6.
It's really similar.
It is.
Top 6 is the exact same.
Yeah, great minds think alike is the thing right there. Devonta Adams at 1. You look at his stuff, 123 catches for 1,553 and 11 touchdowns last year. The last really 29, 30 games he's played, and I think he's had right around 3,400 receiving yards. So he's averaging well over 100 yards a contest. One-on-one, you're basically selling your soul. They can do anything with Devonta Adams with him being 6'1", 215. It's really hard. I mean, not really. He's a very complex receiver, but man, oh man, he is really good. Cooper Kupp too. I know people were like, oh, hey, he had the Triple Crown last year, one of the greatest receiver seasons we've ever seen. Won a Super Bowl on top of it. 145 for 1,947 yards and 16 touchdowns. Yeah, damn right he had one of the greatest receiver seasons ever. Won a Super Bowl. Screw him for that. But, his route running ability is crazy. Hands as well. Separation, really all of that. He's gritty and grimy in the slot. You can line him up outside. He can toast your corner. Did Eli Apple well in Black History Month, but hey, that's all right. We go to number 3, though. Justin Jefferson, 108 catches for 1,616 yards and 10 touchdowns. I have him over Jamar Chase just because of the fact that Justin Jefferson's done it, 2 years in a row, and obviously he's got that year over Jamar Chase because he went out a year before. So it's no slight to Jamar Chase, just the fact that Jefferson, he's done it back-to-back years. Hands, route running, Brady, I think, gave all the spiel on that one. I like the way he moves, though. I think he honestly reminds me a bit of honestly a little bit of Odell when he was a little younger, I would say. Not a really hot comparison right there, but like Odell, just the way he moved when he was in his rookie season and all that. They're both LSU guys. The way they run routes, the way they run in the open field, take some short passes, take them long, and all. So I really like Justin Jefferson there at 3. Jamar Chase at 4. He was 4th in the league in receiving. He's 4th in the league he's 4th on my list. 81 catches for 1,455 yards and 13 touchdowns. 18 yards a catch. Had that ridiculous game against the Kansas City Chiefs, week 17. Jamar Chase, I comp him to Devonta Adams. They're like very similar in height. They're like an inch difference, about the same weight. I could see Cincinnati start to do some things that obviously the connection Rodgers and Adams had Carr and Adams will most likely have something similar to that in Las Vegas. But I think Jamar Chase and Burrow have that great connection. They're going to start doing – I think they can start doing some things that the Devonta Adams did when you talk about a guy playing off and just, a little one-step I wouldn't really say screen. Just get the ball out to him and let him make a play. Get the ball in his hands. And I think by the end of this year, I think I'll be saying that he is the best playmaker in the National Football League. Okay, I think even better than a guy like Debo. But number 5, Tyreek Hill. Hey, we saw Tua Tagovailoa actually throw him a deep ball that looked like it was in stride for Tyreek. If we see that consistently, then hey, he might jump up this list a little. I have no idea. Tyreek, man, he's a small dude, but real muscular, moves really well. Obviously the guy that can take a 5-yard slant 75 yards to the house. They just move him around in many ways. The Dolphins should be moving around in many ways. Use him as a little bit of a gadget guy, but he's primarily a receiver. He's not Deebo Samuel. Number 6, Stefan Diggs, route running. That's the one thing we talk about with Stefan Diggs is his route running. Very smooth with it. He's got creative ways to break off the line. Great hands, another explosive receiver. Josh Allen's going to rely on him, but he also has Gabriel Davis to look out there too. But we all know Stefan Diggs is the upper echelon of the National Football League. So right there, that's 6 right there. We agree on that. All right.
Yep.
Now 7 through 10, I took a bit of a different approach. With DeAndre Hopkins at 7. All right. He has a 6-game suspension. I understand that. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't see Mike Evans as a better wide receiver than DeAndre Hopkins, and I really don't. Like athleticism wise, hands wise, over the course of time, I just think DeAndre Hopkins has always been a better receiver than Mike Evans. They've been in the league about the same amount of time. Hopkins came in 2013. Mike Evans has been very consistent over the last 7 or 8 seasons, but I just find DeAndre Hopkins that much more talented as a big play guy. Just in general, it's not to be the long ball, it doesn't be the jump ball. Honestly, everything for D-Hop, but I have no idea what his stats are going to be this season. I don't know what the impact he's going to have. With Hollywood Brown getting arrested, I still expect him to be back opening day, but man, he actually got arrested for speeding.
Criminal speeding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, has he not learned? Why don't all these fast receivers like the speed? Like the fastest one. Henry Ruggs known for his speed. Marquise Brown, they speed on the
yeah.
They want to go fast.
They do want to go fast, man. They took a page out of Henry Ruggs' book, but that's not really nice. But
and the craziest thing about Henry Ruggs is he had like an ESPN special on him that he was supposed to go with his friend. His friend died in a car accident, and he wore his number for his friend, and then he killed somebody in a car accident.
Yeah, I don't know why. Guys get too obsessed with some of that stuff off the field stuff, and they don't even think twice about some of that stuff. So that stuff is pretty serious though. We obviously don't promote any of that, but still obviously just use your brain. Hollywood Brown for sure. Use your brain, man. And then but I think Kyler Murray is going to be targeting D-Hop when he gets back heavily. Number 8, Mike Evans. Like I said, it's not a hate session on Mike Evans. It's the fact that he also has Chris Godwin coming off the torn ACL. Chris Godwin, I think, is going to have a good season, but Mike Evans is Mike Evans. He's been like a 7 or 8 time Pro Bowler, had 1,000 yards, I think, every single year he's been to the National Football League. So he's obviously a very reliable receiver. There's been some games where he just sometimes disappears, but that might be in fact to some game plan things with Tom Brady. Tom Brady can find any receiver and make him somewhat relevant. So heck, there's guys on the roster like Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson. Now they got Russell Gage, Julio Jones. So I think Mike Evans will still have a very good year. Maybe a little bit of dip, but I think he'll still crack the 1,000 barrier. Number 9, Deebo Samuel. I think they're going to rely on him a bit more. I will say in his contract, it's if they use him like a running back, I believe I read this. If they use him like a running back a bit to a certain amount of snaps, he will make an extra $2 million. So Deebo, I would be going after that money. He's got a very nice payday and all that, but still, I'd take all the money you can get.
Can't leave $2 million on the table.
Can't leave $2 million on the table like that. He's a gadget guy. They can use him in the slot, use him outside. I mean, he was fifth in the league in receiving last year, 18.2 yards a catch. He's not just a running back, but still 6 touchdowns. Very good receiver and all that. Had some fumbling problems though. He had like 4 fumbles, but I mean, when you're playing him between the tackles as a guy running the football, I mean, that's sometimes going to happen. And then number 10, I had Keenan Allen. I mean, he's been really Mr. Consistent over the last 6 years or so. At 106 catches for 1,138 yards and 6 touchdowns. Averaged about 10.7 yards a catch. I mean, I think he's got some of the best hands in the National Football League. Overall, he's got Justin Herbert throwing the football and Mike Williams on the other side. So I think Keenan Allen's still going to be in store for a really good season and just continue that line of success that he's had. If I want to mention some honorable mentions, looking down at this list, DK Metcalf's not on the list. So, I think he's a guy, 12 touchdowns last year. It's 75 catches for 967 yards and 12 touchdowns. That's something to be noted by. I don't know, obviously Drew Lock or Geno Smith, the whole situation going on there. But if they get him a quarterback, he'll easily propel himself in that top 10. And obviously, I believe A.J. Brown as well. In Philadelphia, I think Jalen Hurts is definitely going to be finding him. He's got Devonta Smith on the other side, but hey, 2 receivers can make it work. 3 receivers can make it work even. But that's my list right there. You guys got any thoughts on any of our lists? Matt, you got anything to say?
I think it's good. Both lists are really good. Brady, your 10 is my 10 for sure. It's just out of just different order.
Yep.
Chase, the only thing I hear the Keenan Allen argument. He's very, very reliable, consistent. Yep. I think right now I would slide Terry in there. I love Terry McLaurin. Yep. I think the production he has with the shitbags that throw him the ball, I just think he should be in the top 10 for sure. Mm-hmm. But for just to go down the list, I think I'm completely fine with having Devontae at number 1 just over the past few years. I think for me personally, I would move Cooper to 1, Devontae 2 right now, just because the production last year, and then now I know that Derek Carr and Devonta Adams have played together before in college, but we don't know how it's going to translate to the NFL. So that would be the only reason I would put Devontae at 2 is just because how is that going to work out? New quarterback, new team, new offense, everything like that. How good is it? I think it's going to be good. But we don't know yet, so that's a question mark. So I wouldn't mind those 2 being flipped at all. 3 or 4, I would flip Jamar and Justin. I think Jamar's better. I'd rather have Jamar. I think Jamar's a little bit better after the catch. But you can't go wrong with either one. So You guys know I love Jamar Chase. So
I love him too.
I love Jamar Chase. So
we know you do.
That's where I would flip those 2. I think Tyreek's good. I think you could go Tyreek or Stefan either way, especially now that Tyreek is in Miami with Tua shithead, and then Stefan is with, he's still got Josh Allen, one of the best in the league. It wouldn't. I think it would make sense if you flipped them, but I think you keep them the same too.
Yep.
7 through 10, Brady. Spot on. I think I would go with that. I think I would keep Mike there at 7 because of Brady. I think I would drop Debo because we don't know how good Trey Lance is going to be. Yep. And then obviously DeAndre's got a suspension to serve, and Terry's got who knows throwing the ball. So I think they're both really good lists. Like I said, I think Brady's got my 10. Chase, I'd kick Keenan out, bring Terry in, and then there's a couple switches, but I think it's really good.
Mm-hmm. Overall, you think about it, there's a lot of depth at receiver in the National Football League. A lot of guys you can plug and play, but then a lot of generational talent in there, and it's really tough to piece some of that stuff together. Obviously, if DeAndre Hopkins didn't have suspension, where would we be placing him? Like some of that stuff. If Michael Thomas hadn't been hurt the last couple of years, where would we be placing him? That's the thing about the National Football League and just football in general. It's like, consistency in the past, and then some guys get hurt, but then they return to form. Some guys don't return to form. Who knows? But a couple guys to just look out for this season. Jalen Waddle, if the Dolphins start to throw some stuff, a lot of underneath stuff. The Tua just doesn't decide he wants to throw deep at all, and any of that stuff. Hunter Renfro, I know there's Devonta Adams there now, but he had 1,038 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. I still think he could do that this year, even with the added factor of Devonta Adams. T. Higgins, 14 games. He had 74 catches for 1,091 yards and 6 touchdowns. Got to show some love for the 5-1-3 down there. Chris Godwin, before he got hurt, 98 catches for 1,103 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then I know he's a Steeler, but man, Deontay Johnson, they get a quarterback down there, 107 catches for 1,161 yards and 8 touchdowns. I think there's a lot of really good receivers in the National Football League. A.J. Brown, even Amari Cooper, depending on what happens in the whole situation with Deshaun Watson. I still think they're going to throw him the football there. Good threes, Tyler Boyd, Van Jefferson, just naming out guys, Brandon Ayuk. There's a lot of people on this list. Adam Phelan has a good 2. There's just a lot of people to throw out on there.
Did you say T. Higgins? Did you throw T. Higgins in there?
I said T. Higgins.
Okay,
there's a lot of names thrown out there, but it was a couple names ago. So he was 17th in the league in receiving last year. He really came on after about week 11 or week 12. That was the big propeller, honestly. I mean, Jamar was doing his thing, but T. Higgins was really, really consistent down the stretch and had some big playoff games and obviously played really well in the Super Bowl. So we will definitely see a lot of T. Higgins this year. Saw him in training camp last week. He looks way bigger than 6'4", 6'5". He looks like about six. Yeah, he looks like
he's very long and lanky. So I could see how you would think he's bigger, but
for sure.
I would guess he's like 6'5". I would say he's 6'4", 6'5". I mean,
he's 6'4", 219.
Is that what he's listed at?
That's what he's listed at here on ESPN. But yeah, I mean, he's a big receiver and all that. But I can't wait to see him play in person and all that. Before we go, I'll go to you guys for the college stuff. I know we named a couple of honorable mentions, but do you have any breakout, just out of the blue breakout guys that could just make the way on the list for college? Whoever wants to start that.
I do actually. I have. I'll start out with Jacoy Brooks at Bama. I think Jacoy has the second highest chance of being that wide receiver 1 on the team. Caught the game time touchdown pass, sent it to OT against Auburn, where everyone, acts like Bryce Young is Jesus Christ for that drive, even though he had like 20 yards back. But that was a great catch by a freshman wide receiver to send it to OT. I just think he'll be a really good receiver this year. Jaden Hazelwood was the number 1 wide receiver in the 2019 class over Garrett Wilson, who was 2. Obviously wasn't the truth. And that ranking was clearly messed up. But Jaden Hazelwood over at Arkansas, he transferred from Oklahoma to Arkansas. This will be his first year there. Arkansas, widely considered to be a potential top 10 team. Hazelwood could go off. And then, like I said, Emeka Egbuka, the number 1 player, number 1 receiver.
Come on, man. Come on. You got to take mine. Shit.
I was going to say Emeka. I got to say.
Oh, man.
The number 1 receiver in the 2021 class, if I did rankings, he would have been a top 5 player. I just think he was one of the most polished receivers I've seen out of high school and just surefire beat. I think he's going to be a first-round pick. Like, I know everyone's attention on Marvin. Where I'm not going to call Marvin a breakout because he already broke out in that Rose Bowl. He's obviously going to be that second receiver on Ohio State this year in terms of the starters. And Emeka's fighting for a starting spot. Mm-hmm. Watch him to be our potential 1,000-yard receiver this year for real. And then obviously great in the kick returning game. And then, those are my guys, my guys in general.
You got Matt befuddled down there. Matt, you got any?
Everybody took mine, so I really don't have another one.
Who was it? Just Emeka was yours, or did you take?
Yeah, that's what I was going with. Because I figured you wouldn't pick him. We talk about him a lot, so it's a weird breakout. We talk about him a lot because we're Ohio State fans. For people that are watching that aren't Ohio State fans really should watch. Like Brady's talked about it, we've talked about it a lot. He's the number 1 receiver, 2021 class. Speedster. Could really take the top off the defense, I hope.
Exactly.
we got to find out this year if he's what Matt's hoping.
But that's the guy. That's my breakout, just because I think he's going to be our number 3, and we got the best quarterback, the best receiver. one of the
Best
top
running
2
back.
or 3. Hopefully the best running. One of the
Maybe
top
the
2 or
best
3
running
running backs for sure.
I think
Hopefully
he's top 2 for sure.
I think Bijan's probably better right now.
Bijan can be the one, yeah, for sure. I mean, because he's more complete.
Bijan has kind of proved it a little bit more, I guess you could say.
He's proved he can do everything. Where Travion, I think he's not that he's bad between the tackles. He's just unbelievably insane explosion wise, and if he can
so yeah, like I said, Emeka Egbuka, there's my breakout guy. Thanks, Brady. Real dick.
Hey, you get some insight on him still. It's still
I did get some insight. I did.
And here's the thing about Emeka. The last thing I have to mention is, like Matt said in the spring game, and when we were talking about that preview, he found a way to pop as a freshman, whereas Julian Fleming hasn't done. And I don't think Julian should start. I'm sorry. I like the dude. I think he blocks hard. I think he plays hard in there. But he's not a natural like Emeka. He's not. Emeka had that huge catch on the sideline against Utah.
He just hasn't popped.
Stupid. And then Emeka, kick return wise, was unbelievable. Best kick return we've had in a while since maybe Ted Ginn.
Yep. As a young guy as a young guy in college football and just in college in general, you got to get your foot in the door somehow. And
special teams.
Yep.
Anything like they just find a way to do it. And
Garrett did it. Chris Olave did it.
Yep.
Jackson did it. Jameson Williams even did it.
100%.
Oh yeah. Very underrated part of the game and all that special teams, just even trying to find a way to get on the field.
That's the way you get on the field.
Exactly.
Places like Ohio State, that's how you fucking play.
Exactly.
You got 5-star guys. You got 3 or 4, 5. You got 3 or 4 upperclassmen that are 4 or 5-star guys that have been there for years. You're not just going to come unless you're a super elite. You're not just going to come in and win the job right away. You got to find a way to get on the field.
Exactly. Right. Terry McLaurin and Chris Olave are the 2 best punt players I've ever seen in terms of defending.
And Devin Smith was really good too.
Him with Devin.
Yep. Long history.
Those guys running gunners on the outside on the punt team, man. Speed.
Yeah. Long history of guys at Ohio State that really made their name like that. But then we go to the NFL. Anybody that's gonna have a breakout season. I'll let you guys go first on this and see if you'll take who I have on this one.
I ain't taking nobody. You guys go. I'll tell you later.
I guess I'll go first. I hope I don't take any of your guys, but just off the top of my head, I would say if we're going rookie wise, I think Garrett Wilson. Actually, no.
Oh, Dickie.
Chris Olave, and then Treylon Burks in terms of situation.
Yeah.
I think Garrett's going to be unbelievable, and I think the next few years he's going to be on this list. But in terms of this year, Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, and if I'm looking for another breakout receiver that's older, I'm going to go Russell Gage.
Okay,
I like that.
Tom Brady factor. I like it.
Was the number 3 or 4 for Tampa Bay?
Yep.
Yeah, he's number 3.
It just depends on how that whole shakes out.
Because
we don't
know how good Julio is.
Yeah, right? We just don't know how we don't know how Godwin's going to come back after.
I like that pick, Brady. So, I like it. I like that pick.
Gage.
That was my pick. Sorry, I forgot that. That was the one I was going with.
Gage?
Yep. All right, man. So I'll give you mine. All right. So rookie wise, I know we just mentioned the Commanders and how Terry McLaurin, shouldn't basically be on this list, but I think Jahan Dotson's gonna have a nice season. I really do. I mean, if they're able to push the ball down the field and all that stuff, I think Jahan Dotson's really gonna stand out in Washington. But if it comes to an older guy, I don't know how I missed him. He's now the number 1 receiver down, in Big D, CeeDee Lamb. I think he's going to have 1,300 yards this year. I think he's going to exceed the 1,300, 1,400 yard limit and have about 8 or 9 touchdowns. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be a really good receiver this year. You guys will find out.
For Cowboys wise.
Yeah. I mean, you guys will find out where I have the Cowboys at, when it comes record wise, because it's very, the whole method of they make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, miss the playoffs. Is this year they make it? Do they go back to back? We don't know, but we are out of time here. That was a good episode. Anybody got any final thoughts?
I'm
good.
I'm good
Great
too.
Show. That was a good show. I like it.
Receiver is one of my favorite positions in terms of them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. But man, I mean, talking about the quarterbacks and all in the past episode, and then you got, quarterback's best friend right there with the receivers and all. And I mean, coming to a passing league and a passing game of football. So, talking about the amount of depth there is at wide receiver. This has been a fun one. For that's Brady, Matt, Chase. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
See ya.